What if I told you there is a investment account that not only you can retire early with, but you can save a ton of money on taxes because it comes with quadruple tax advantages. And many Americans like you watching this video want to retire early from the workforce because, well, they don't want to deal with their bosses until they're 60 or rely on their 9 to 5 jobs to pay their bills, right? So I want to show you 2 investment accounts that early retirees invest with multiple tax advantages or create passive income streams. So the account I want to show you is the HSA. With an HSA, despite what you hear, you're thinking that, oh, this is about health. Yes, but no, right? The contributions you make are in pre-tax dollars, which means that you don't pay federal or state income taxes, except for California and New Jersey. So if you live in California and New Jersey, sorry, you got to pay state income tax on the HSA contributions at the time of recording this video anyway. And you don't pay Social Security and Medicare taxes or FICA for the HSA contributions. So what you put into your HSA is truly in pre-tax dollars. And what you probably didn't know is that you can actually invest what you contribute to the HSA to index funds, ETFs, bonds, individual stocks, or target date retirement funds. The capital gains and dividends that are paid by these investments are also tax-free at the federal level. However, you will have to report your dividends and earnings if you live in Tennessee and New Hampshire, so keep that in mind. And anytime you can take your contributions, earnings, and interest out of the HSA penalty-free and tax-free as long as you use it for qualified medical expenses. And here's the trick with the HSA. You can go to a doctor's appointment today and pay $100 in copay, right? You pay out of cash. You keep that receipt so that you can reimburse yourself with the HSA at any time. So let's say I go to a doctor's appointment today and I give them my credit card, $100 paid, and I pay that credit card off, not with the HSA, with my own personal fund. And I keep that receipt of $100. There's no expiration date on that receipt. I can literally reimburse myself at any time, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, 50 years from now. As long as I have that receipt and I have them all scanned in my folder, right? Then I can submit that to my HSA and then reimburse myself. How cool is that, right? So if I spend a total of, let's say, $3,000 in medical and dental expenses in 2024 between my family and I could reimburse myself up to $3,000 in the future years. It doesn't matter when you do it because HSA goes with you long after you leave your employer. That's always going to be your HSA, kind of like the Roth IRA. Before I go through the tutorial, I want to let you know that this calculator only shows one HSA account. So if you and your spouse each have a separate HSA account with your employers, you're going to get more advantages from the employer contribution. Not to mention that you can each do an extra $1,000 in catch-up contribution if both of you are at least 55 years old. You can download this calculator for absolutely free by visiting firesightshare.com/resources. If you and your spouse have separate HSAs and over the age of 55, make sure to select single on the spreadsheet when you do the calculation and then double the ending balance, all right? So you put your current age that you're going to be in 2024. So if you're going to be 38, or I'm going to put 30, okay, in the year 2024, then you want to put 30. If you're going to turn 31 in the month of November or December, it doesn't matter. Then you put 31 on there, okay? The next one is going to be your current HSA balance. I'm just going to put 0 on there because you just started. The annual savings rate is going to be 2%. Now, here is where you can make the changes. You see where the drop down is going to be? I don't know if you can see that, okay? You click on it, it's either individual or family. So if you're a single person, it changes to $4,150. Do you see that? Okay. And if I change it to family, then it's $8,300. That is the maximum contribution limit for HSA in the year 2024. Okay. I'm going to select family for right now. And at the age of 55, so with a Roth IRA and 401k, it's age 50, but the HSA is starting at the age of 55, then you get an extra catch-up contribution of $1,000. And then the employer contribution, this is going to be really interesting. If you get an employer contribution for the HSA, you have to directly deduct it from the personal contribution. So if you're on the family plan, the maximum is $8,300, right? But let's say your employer says, hey, thanks for working with us. We're going to give you $1,000 every year to your HSA. Then you have to automatically deduct it from your personal contribution. So you can't exceed $8,300 every year. You have to maintain under $8,300. So if I switch it to individual, $4,150, right? And your employer gives you $500, then what you can contribute is $3,650 plus $500 in employer contribution. Does that make sense? But the total has to be the total contribution limit in the same year. Okay. Now, for year-to-date portfolio return, this is where you're going to put what your portfolio or how it's performing year-to-date. If you have a S&P 500 right now, at the time of recording this video, it's up about 7% year-to-date, which is pretty incredible for the year. And then the future portfolio return is how your HSA is going to be diversified. So if you're putting 100% of your HSA into the S&P 500, then the 8% average annual return, or you can put 10%, you can put 12%. You can always look at the past performances. Just make sure you remember that it doesn't guarantee your future returns. So I like to be conservative, and I just put 8%. If I get more out of that, great, right? Let's say you are 30 and you are single. Then with the 8% average annual return, it would take you until the age of 65 to have $1 million. Now, why do I have 65 highlighted at the bottom? Here's why. Remember I was telling you about the distribution rules, right? That you have to use your receipts to reimburse yourself. Well, starting at the age of 65, you don't need those receipts anymore. You can actually treat this as a Roth IRA or a completely separate retirement account and take money out of your HSA. The only taxes you'll have to pay is your federal income tax and the state income tax. So starting at the age of 65, you could have $1 million as a single individual, and you can treat it as a separate investment vehicle. How awesome is that? Because you get to save taxes now every time you contribute. It grows tax deferred. You don't pay taxes on the dividends. You don't pay taxes on the interest or earnings. And then when you get to 65, you'll have $1 million. Now you're like, well, I don't want to wait till I'm 65. That's fine. What if I want to retire at 45? This is where you have to be extremely organized. Okay. I personally use what's called Dropbox, and I organize all of my receipts. I always start with 2024, the year, month, date, and then I put the facility that I went to and the reason it was, right? The qualified medical expenses are listed on the IRS website. If you type in IRS publication, HSA qualified medical expenses on Google search, you're going to find that. At any time, let's say I'm 45 now and I want to take a trip to Hawaii. That's going to cost me $3,000, right? And I'm like, oh, you know what? I got these receipts up to $3,000. I can reimburse myself with an HSA, get that $3,000 and pay for my trip. I don't even pay any taxes on it because I delay my reimbursement for later on. Okay. That's the one thing that's really hard to comprehend is like, wait, why can I reimburse at any time? Because the HSA doesn't set the expiration on when you can reimburse your expenses. How awesome is that, right? If you take a look at the HSA history, individual HSA history, it came out in the year 2004. So President Bush in 2003 signed the HSA into law, and it started in January 2004. And the first contribution limit was $2,600, right? And if you just invest everything into the S&P 500, after 21 years, you would have about $209,000 as a single individual HSA, okay? If you're a family plan, then it will be double at $418,000 after 21 years. If you start your HSA as early as you can in your 20s, just keep in mind that it is a high deductible health plan, right? So you have to pay more, possibly with the premium, possibly with more in co-payment. But if you have no health issues, then HDHP or high deductible health plan might be the right one for you. But I would always prioritize whichever is better. So if you ask me if TRICARE is better than HSA, I would say so because it's free, right? You just don't get to invest in the HSA. And depending on your medical condition, you might have to end up paying more on co-payments. You might end up paying more on prescription medication, right? Not many people have room in their budget or savings to pay for medical expenses. So keep that in mind. By the way, did you know that over 50% of Americans who make over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck? So is it always an income problem or a spending problem? If you're having trouble figuring out your budget, I encourage you to download a budget app called YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. That's right. Whether you make $50,000 a year or $200,000 a year, every one of you needs to create a budget to achieve financial independence. You need to give every dollar a job so that you can be more intentional with your savings and spending. You can get a free trial without any credit card information by using the link in the description below. If you continue to invest, and based on how HSA contribution limits are even higher than the Roth IRA, this is something that you could significantly build over the next 10, 20, or 30 years. You don't have to think about, oh, I gotta wait till I'm 60. If you're very organized with your HSA receipts, you can take that money out at any time. You don't have to wait until you're 60, 65, or way later than that. Now, let's take a look at taxable brokerage account, right? So this is usually how people invest for their early retirement. It does require a higher income to do this because you always want to prioritize your 401k, Roth IRA, HSA. Those three things need to be prioritized first before you start investing in the taxable brokerage account, right? So when you go into the taxable brokerage account, let me go and zoom in here. If you start at the age of 25 and you have nothing invested so far, and for some reason you are making a lot of money, you're making $100,000 a year, okay? At the age of 25, that would be incredible. So if you invest $10,000 a year, which is $900 a month, with an annual increase of 2% for the annual income, it would take you until age 44 to have $1 million in your early retirement portfolio, in your taxable brokerage account, right? So let's be realistic. Let's say you're 35. Right? Most of you guys watching this video are in your 30s or 40s. So you would need to increase your contribution rate. But if you save at least $900, let's say $1,000 a month, right? And that would take you about 12% of your savings rate. Then it would take you till age 54 to have $1.1 million, or age 53 to have very close to $994,000. Now, it really depends on your portfolio, right? 8% is, I would say, it's pretty moderate, right? If you want to go aggressive, you're very smart with the stock market and you're like, I'm going to make 10% every year. 10% will put you at $1 million at age 51. If you do 12%, 49. So the stock market by 10%, 8%, it does change or speed up your, seven-figure goal. But what you really want to focus on is this one right here. How much can you contribute extra towards your taxable brokerage account? What if you do $1,500 a month, $18,000 a year, right? Early retirees really work on the savings rate at the beginning, right? You don't want to start saving towards the end because you want enough time to compound the interest, right? Compound interest works with the time horizon that you have. So the more of the savings rate that you have, the faster you're going to get there, okay? I would say that again. Focus on your savings rate. Don't focus too much on the portfolio return. Sure, you should look at what you're investing. If you have 100% into bonds, I'm going to say you're not going to make 8% every year, right? You're probably going to make 2% every year, even maybe less. But you want to look at your portfolio once a month and see how your portfolio is performing. But what you really want to stress on, again, is your contribution. How much you're putting towards your taxable brokerage account, how you can determine how fast you can retire or achieve financial independence, right? Okay. So again, you can download this spreadsheet, all of them with the HSA, Roth IRA, 401k calculator for absolutely free by visiting financialconsultation.com/resources. Now, it's not easy to put extra money towards the taxable brokerage account. Your number one priority, again, is retirement accounts like the 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA, because those accounts will ensure that you don't work a 9-to-5 job when you're way past your retirement age. Having a taxable brokerage account is just a bonus to your total investment portfolio. If you're not in a position to put money in the taxable brokerage account, then wait until your income increases. You can download my financial independence checklist by visiting financialconsultation.com/resources, What I want you to focus on is your savings rate. If you can't save just 15% of your income towards your retirement right now, you're going to see a huge change to your net worth. You should also consider joining my private client program, where I coach my clients on how to plan for their future by visiting 568.com/coaching.